They sell it before they get to me. So they give me that, you're free, man.
So it was like they picked, I told them 30 people, and they all left finally at 3, and we know it'll be 2:30. He said they like 3 hours, he said nothing, and then they came back about 4:15.
Mike, the reason why I called you that day was just to let you know that I did talk to Dennis.
And we can talk about that today, please. Yes, we can
Yeah.
get that cleaned up. Yep. Perfect.
A month ago, I talked to him.
I know.
So,
Yep. We'll get her done.
Okay.
Thank you. No.
7 o'clock, all rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And everyone's here. I need a motion for approval of the school board reorganizational meeting minutes of April 25th, 2019.
so moved. Second.
So moved.
Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Goldberg,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
motion carried.
I need a motion for approval of the school board new board member meeting minutes of April 25th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Don't you want?
Okay, Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Goldberg,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
motion carried.
A motion for approval of the joint boards meeting minutes of April 29, 2019.
So moved.
This was the meeting at the community center.
Second.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Goldberg,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
motion carried.
And we move on to the May 19 expenses. There are a few additional bills. Any questions? Need a motion for approval of the May 19 expenses.
Make a motion, we approve them?
Second?
Missouri,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Goldberg,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
motion carried.
I did have one question. You have
This is a purchase order number.
Okay, I was wondering, because it said one, and I said, holy cow, $1,000. Okay.
Yeah, yep.
Mike, we're up to the treasurer's report.
Alrighty. Balance in the supernumerary account at First Community Bank and Trust as of April 30th was $297,944.83. Outstanding checks at the end of the month totaled $5838.18, leaving the adjusted bank balance at $292,106.65. Lunch program balance $24,743.70. Impressed fund $5,000. The total balance, $321,850.35. The investment balances at the end of April were $11,097,766.15, leaving the balance of all funds for the district as of April 30th at $11,419,616.50. April receipts were $994,058.15. Expenses were $1,040,381.47. The individual fund balances, education fund, $6,843,464.17. Building fund, $797,909.78. Bond and interest, -$121,728.43. Transportation, $1,220,114.13. IMRF, -$49,738.32. Working cash balance, $2,353,227.50. Tort fund balance, $141,944.51. And life safety, $234,483.16. Interest earned, excuse me, I had First Community for the month was $872.12. The state of Illinois made the following distributions. State aid totaled $164,169.52. The lunch program, $11,965.03. Special milk, $6.89. State free lunch, $277.84. Title I, $29,315 on the nose. Regular transportation, $56,723.11. Special ed transportation, $36,549.34. Special ed private facility, $56,959.67. And special ed orphanage, $26,557.65. And we had no real estate distributions. That'll be changing soon.
23rd.
Very soon. I was at a meeting last week, and they discussed how pretty optimistic that the state comptroller was actually going to release the fourth categorical payment this year. The way that a lot of the state revenue works, there are 4 payments throughout the year, and when the comptroller has enough money in the bank, then they issue them and flow all that money through to the state or to all the schools. And there are years that we don't get 4 categorical payments in a given year, but it looks like we're going to get 4, and so that will help with our revenue for this year.
Great. Any questions for Mike? Motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I'll motion.
Second.
Pappas?
Yes.
Goldberg?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Weissel?
Yes.
Duchess?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. And we have some guest speakers. Is this Mary Ann, is it Lumen or Lumen? Lumen? Yes.
Hi,
Hi.
I have a question regarding discipline, the steps taken with discipline in the school buildings.
Okay,
Pertaining
first of
to-
all, have you taken it to the building principal?
No, I just have a basic question.
Oh, okay, go
Not
ahead.
about a specific person, just a
Okay.
basic question. How many suspensions are allowed before an expulsion is given?
Is this at what level?
Junior high.
Junior high?
So we can definitely have Mr. Meyer follow up and have that conversation with you, so you can know exactly what the discipline policies are at the junior high.
Okay, is it up to the principal or is it up to the school board?
So our handbooks are implemented by the building principals, and so that's where you should have the conversation about discipline.
Okay, see, I don't have my copy of the handbook, but I thought I read in it that expulsion is up to the school board.
It is, but
At what point does
by
this go to the school
state
board?
law, we have to follow a progressive disciplinary path, and if we don't, then we're in violation of the law as an organization and as a board, so the school board's not going to do something that they know is illegal. And so you have to work through a progressive disciplinary policy, and so Mr. Meyer will be more than happy to detail that for you.
Okay, so one more question then regarding it. How many, so I can't even get an answer on how many suspensions before Mr. Meyer brings it to the school board for an expulsion? It's strictly,
It's very situational, depends on what they're for, depends on the length, depends on the prior history of the student. There are a lot of variables that go into disciplinary conversations with students.
Ultimately, yes, the board has to make the decision for the expulsion, but it's based on what the principal brings to the board.
Okay, at what point is the principal required to bring to the board? Is he ever required to bring to the board a specific student with multiple suspensions? Some of them for things that should automatically be expulsions. At what point does he have to bring them to the board?
So we're treading on some waters that we shouldn't be in this conversation. So Mr. Meyer will talk to you specifically about this. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Ed, there you are.
Brief bullet point.
Okay.
Junior high soccer, I hope that the new members have had a chance to see the video from last time, and that we recognize that there are parents who are willing to step up. It doesn't have to be perfect. We don't have to have a home field. We have people who are talking about volunteering for coaching. We do everything away. I mean, so there are things that can be worked out if we can get it to go this upcoming year. Just keep the dialogue, we'll get that going. Golf, look, I saw a proposal on the board packet about where that would be, and Mr. Bunty talked about that last time. The theme that I saw online said that we'd like to do these things almost like in a good faith, because Cardinal Creek might do some other stuff. They're developing a driving range, developing bigger greens. I guess I'd like to see them, if the parents are happy, if the kids are happy, why not wait till they have them? You know, and I'm even getting the impression it actually might be more expensive to split than it is to keep it there. I do like the flexibility of the new grading scale, getting at least a couple points on the A+. Thank you if it goes that way. And for promotion, I saw a lot of things in the new handbook talking about, you know, if you don't get this grade, if you don't get this grade over this time. I hope that we're also looking at our own accountability in that we've offered the good RTI systems, that we've offered what the school has done to help the students bring those grades to where they should be. It can't be all on the students. We have responsibilities under child fine to make sure that we've done our part along the way. I don't know if the handbook reflects that, but I hope that we keep driving those things forward.
Thank you, Ed. Heather Graham and Donna Leahy, are you going together, or?
Well, I'm basically speaking on her behalf because they're very dear friends of mine, and I don't think she's even going to be able to get a word edgewise. She's
Okay.
just very upset. So apparently last week, a boy at the junior high had threatened to shoot up the graduation dance, and then he turned to the Leahy's daughter and said that you're my first target. And the Leahy's were never called, and there was no robocall to any of the junior high parents, and I just would like to know why.
Oh. And this was at what level?
Junior high.
I'm not aware of it. Handled?
This morning she called me and told me about her side of the story.
Okay.
And so I don't know what else I can say now.
Okay, so you'll have to address it with Mr. Meyer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
But it will be, he'll be getting in touch with you. I see no one else wishing to speak. Mrs. Black, would you like to give your report?
Sure. There's only two things that I wanted to point out from my report. First of all, we had author Amy Logan come visit our school last week, which was a wonderful experience for our students, and she had a wonderful message about kindness, one of the things, the themes of her book, and so it went really well with everything we've been doing at our school this year. And I wanted to invite anyone who wanted to. This Wednesday, she will be coming for an author night to our school as well. So she will be coming back, reading some of her stories, signing autographs for students, taking pictures with students, and we have some gift bags that students will be leaving with reading activities that they can take part in with their families at home. So
And what day was that?
that's Wednesday night, from 5 to 7. And then I did attach my proposed handbook changes. I don't know if anyone had any questions regarding those. There is a section at the back where it wasn't really detailed information. If you look at the last page, as I went through the process of making my handbook more consistent with the junior high and high schools, there were a bunch of sections that weren't included in my handbook that I wanted to be included in my handbook. So if you look at the back, just things like reporting a theft, Student use of electronics, there were some parts of section 9 and 10 talking about student eligibility for speech club, which we have. So all of those things have already been approved by you guys in the junior high and high school handbook, so it's really no new wording, it's just wording that I would want in our elementary school handbook that isn't currently in there.
So there were pages and pages of changes in the handbook, and it wasn't on the agenda, so I don't think we're legally allowed to speak about any of it. There's a huge amount of changes in there. They're talking about changes in promotion and taking kids off the honor roll, and it's just a lot of changes. And it really needs to be on the agenda to talk about it. The only thing that's on there is section 7 and 8, so.
So it's not accurate to say that something has to be on the agenda for us to discuss it? So let's go back rewind a couple of months, and let's say that, let's look at, we had a presentation by Mr. Duncan on IT, and he spent a lot of time talking about hardware replacement, talking about cameras. None of those things were on the agenda, and so as a governing body, you do not specifically have to have something on the agenda. I don't think that it's a best practice to not provide you with any information ahead of time if we're going to have a discussion on something. And information was provided ahead of time. So let's be real careful when we throw around an accusation that something's illegal. Let's make sure that we know 100% that it is before we make that. I think that would be.
Why don't we just put it there and solve the issue? I just put it there, put it on the agenda, and let it be known. Tonight, this is what we're going to talk about, and then the residents see that if that's something that interests them, they'll come to a board meeting. I just.
The accuracy is we can't vote on it without it being on the
That's
handbook.
correct. That's 100% correct. And we're not asking for any votes. We're asking for conversation. Just like we do with other policies. We provide the information, ask if there are any additional follow-up questions, provide several meetings to digest that information, to have those conversations, and before we ask the board to make a final binding vote. And that's the exact same process that we're using now.
Okay, and there'll be like 2 readings? I did read that it's good to have 2 readings on something.
Yep, tonight would be considered a first reading, just like it would be with 7 and 8.
If I may, about the grading scale, as this is something that I've been researching in years past and then also now, as the grading scale in our district is different than grading scales all around. Has there been any talk about changing that so that it's ISBE standardized grading scales?
I think that's something that we have talked about at our administrator meetings. I know that Mr. Gaham kind of researched area grading scales when he was looking at additions and changes that he might make.
Okay.
So it's definitely something that we have talked about in that way.
Okay. I did some research in surrounding districts, and I've only found one that's similar to ours in the district, and then I also called some universities and stuff. I was just curious about how that's going to go, so if that's something we could discuss at some point.
We certainly could. Are you thinking more like a 90, 80, 70, that
Yes.
kind of grading scale?
Yes, yeah, like, that's what I was finding. Like I said, I found one school district that didn't have that in the area, and then I talked to admissions at Illinois State, and they said that they do not check grading scales when they see that grade on the transcript, unless it is a special request, and that it does put them at a slight disadvantage when it comes to figuring out for scholarships and for placement, so.
Yeah, I think our main focus right now on all of our handbook issues is to work on that common experience. So for all of our attendance policies, making sure that they're all similar from building to building. As we look at the different grading scales, making sure that they're the same with not only within each building, but building to building. And so definitely as that gets implemented and shakes out and we can see what the pros and cons are, then obviously we're open to having future conversations about that.
So what's are we going to discuss it right now then? What's the reason for taking up that you just said we would like to take out the honor roll part.
It's not something that's currently being utilized at our school. We don't award honor rolls. So it's something that was in there that was done in the past. And in speaking with the teachers, if we're not doing it, then I didn't see a point in having it in the handbook.
Is that something that would benefit the students, or?
Again, I mean, I think that those are conversations that I could have with the staff, but right now, for it to reflect what's happening in the school, it's not something that's happening. So to have it in our handbook doesn't seem to hold a lot of validity.
If we're not using it though, why should we remove it though? I mean, could we use it later? I mean, every child, I mean, I was in school, 5th grade, honor roll. I mean, it's a certificate, kids, it's good for the children.
I think that if we were to do it, I would want to, I mean, if we were to put it back in, I would want to talk to the teachers and put parameters that they would want honor roll to be, not something that's in there right now that we're not utilizing. So, yes, if we were to do that, then we would put something in our handbook specifically saying what the criteria is for the different levels of honor roll.
So could we just add that to the honor roll? And then, you know, that would be for the building principal to initiate when she decides. I mean, you could just add to it instead of taking out honor roll. Just a thought.
You were on honor roll?
Thanks, Larry.
That's new too, the field trips, so then if you don't have your money paid up, you can't go on any of the, like, your fees, and then you're not going on the field trips?
The only thing that we're adding, it's not field trips, it's Olympic Day. Because all of our field trips are academic in nature, and so we wouldn't take away that academic opportunity that a field trip provides.
Was that one of the other ones then that was, oh, it was the junior high that was?
Possibly.
Okay.
Just, yeah, I'll can wait.
Okay, so what did this mean? Parents of junior high and high school students may not request their students to be taken off the bus, but then the next line says the only daily change accepted is in the event a student is allowed to walk home or is picked up from their school by a parent or guardian.
So the wording that we would add to that, and Mr. Cox had brought to my attention that that was a little bit hard to understand. So what that would read would say, so parents of junior high and high school students may not request their students be taken off the bus at the elementary school. So what has happened a couple of times this year is that we've had students who have come over to the elementary school on their regular bus, the junior high or high school bus. And then we've had parents who will get an hour car rider line and then call and ask for their high school or junior high student to be taken off the bus while we're trying to load buses, and it becomes a really unsafe and confusing situation. So that's what that would be referring to.
Okay. Are people on board with you're getting rid of any kind of edible birthday treats?
Yep, I actually did. We talked at a staff meeting about it. I put a poll out to the teachers, and then we discussed it further at a staff meeting.
So no cupcakes, no more for the kids.
Most schools don't allow food, birthday treats, just because of allergies and things along those lines.
What have you seen as something for an alternative?
We've talked about, we were also going to have a list that we could share with parents as a, other choices we've had. Parents can bring in treat bags with, I shouldn't say treat bags, but I guess treat bags with pencils and erasers and stickers and things like that. Yeah.
Recorders.
Right, recorders, play at home. So things more along that line. I mean, certainly allowing, singing happy birthday and handing something out, but also it becomes an issue with food allergies and clean up afterwards, and some parents will send in 3 different snacks and a gallon of milk, and they don't bring something to cut a cake with, and it just becomes a, yeah.
Okay.
Can I go back to the honor roll for a minute? Is the intent of your school to then not implement probably an honor roll section in the handbook then for next year?
Right.
Given just the timing of review, similar to
And again, it's
Ron's
not-
comments, but I don't know that
it's
we're
not
able to implement it for next year.
I could certainly talk to the staff again and see if that's something that they would want.
Okay.
When I talked to them as I was, before we met with the handbook committee, talking about the things that we're going to be changing in the same way that I talked about putting a survey out to the staff about birthday treats and things like that. I did also talk more with the older grade levels because they're not really going to do honor roll in first grade. We're talking with the third, fourth, and fifth grade teachers. Is this something that we're currently doing? The answer to that was no. So we could
And it
certainly
might-
have continued conversations of, would you like to do that? What would it look like if we did that?
Right. Maybe it's stale and take the opportunity to revamp it if needed. Thank you.
Who else doesn't in the area? I mean, other schools, just
I
real
don't
quick,
know.
elementary, I don't know.
So my concern, I think the rest of them isn't as big, but that retention, and it says that, it seems a little general. Decisions to promote might be based on like general performance on school district standardized testing and attendance. It just seems kind of general. You're talking about holding somebody back.
I think it's actually really specific in the fact that it's based on grades, and you have to be able to pass your cores, and then all of the others are additional pieces that the staff can look at in order to try to figure out exactly where this student is and how successful they are. But I think it's a disservice to have a kid who has failed every quarter of math and English and is still being promoted to the next grade level.
Does it say anything about retention, about if a student has like an IEP or that type of thing in here? I don't see it under retention.
It's
Further down
right
on
at the
mine.
end of the
Yep.
section there.
In that same section, you see it?
It's the last sentence. So the promotion of a student having an IEP or receiving reasonable accommodations pursuant to 504 shall be determined by the student's educational team. All right.
Thank you. Mr. Key?
All right, because I submitted my board report prior to this weekend's event, right there is a result from our track team. We have 4 individuals, 4 ladies, who are going to be representing Beecher High School down at the track event. So I gave that to you for your perusal. And the other thing I want you to make sure that you noted, I understand that my board packet was rather thick this go around, and I do apologize, primarily because of the first reading of my handbook and the extracurricular code of conduct are both involved in this. However, I'll take any questions on that in a moment. I do want to make sure you do see the email that we got from a coach in regards to our girls softball team, and specifically to Mr. Hayers. The young ladies at the end of a game were on their hands and knees in the outfield looking for a lost necklace for the other team. So if that doesn't show the character of our kids and of our coaches and our staff here, I don't know what else does. So I wanted to make sure that I found that email. I wanted to make sure you guys saw that. So if you happen to see Coach or any of the ladies, tell them good job. They really are a good group of kids. So. Other than that, like I said, it's about 25 to 30 pages here. Is there anything specific throughout that first reading that I gave you? Just so you know, this was not an overnight thing. This process, when it came to changing or adjusting handbook policies, probably started back in January with my leadership team. They continuously went back to their cohorts of teachers, brought it back to the leadership. We discussed. I took it to my student leadership team. We discussed. So this is a lot of work put in by a lot of individuals. So I promise you, anything you see in there that looks like it's changed, it's because the kids and the teachers think it's best for all of us moving forward.
I had a question outside of the reading.
Oh, yes.
For policy. Was the bowling report in here and I missed it?
It was not, because
Okay.
Mr. Ogden, in the process of working all the other things
Sure.
that he's been having to do, he has not been able to make it over to Pentatonic to make any kind of connection with them. I think that meeting is either next week or the following, but it's going to be coming.
Okay.
But, yes.
Thought I missed something. No worries.
Yes. Nope, you didn't miss that one.
Okay.
Matter of fact, Mr. Ogden felt guilty not putting it in there. I said, Bob, it's all right. I'll cover you this go around.
So how are the exams, so what we had before was just a bunch of students not trying at all, and there's, okay. So it wouldn't be the same because they don't take, I'm just asking because it didn't care. it used to be how they did on their standardized tests. And that's how you got out of your exemption. So everybody now they're going with, they're not doing EQAs anymore, they're doing final.
You're referring to senior exemptions?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, all right. So when it came to that, so the purpose of that being implemented was simply to give an extra push into a kid who's going to take a test. So one time a year, we're going to assess a student, and if they don't do well that one day of the year, that is going to overthrow all the work they put in for the last 5 months in the course. So my opinion on that is I'm not going to rely everything that a child does on their SAT score. Is it important? Yes. Is it reported to the state? Yes. Will you see the results? Absolutely. Is my job on line for it? Probably. But I'm not going to make that one number reliant on a student's full understanding of the semester. So when the teachers, and this is another thing the teachers and I had a lot of conversations about, when we sat down, we talked about what shows you that a student does not necessarily have to take your exam. I said, does a 620 on their SAT have anything to do with that? They said, well, maybe, but a kid who has a 620 on SAT probably got an A and a B in my class to begin with, because they've shown the rigor, they've shown the effort, they've shown the work that is required in order for you to be successful. So we thought that actually was probably more stringent on a student's learning versus the SAT score.
So before, there were tests and the students weren't trying at all. They'd show up and they would just laugh and talk, but then they had that science assessment as freshmen. Do you still have that?
Yep, the ISA.
So what's to encourage them to do well on that then? What standardized tests would they have? They have the AP ones, and they'd have SAT, PSAT.
Yep.
And they got rid of the park for the high school.
Correct.
So what would they have?
So our SAT is our park, if you would. So the freshmen take the ISA, which is the Illinois Science Exam, or assessment, and then our freshmen, sophomores take the PSAT, our juniors take the pre-SAT in the fall, they take the SAT in the spring, and then that, I believe, is all of them, and then their AP students right now are currently in AP testing, along with every exam they're being asked to take throughout the year, plus semester exams, or EQAs at this current time.
It was just to encourage them to do well because they were not trying at all. Now, maybe they would try more if it's something like a PSAT or SAT, but in that before, it was just a big joke and nobody cared. It was just a huge joke.
My kids cared.
My kids cared.
So let's
but there
don't
were
put that in a
Yeah.
broad perspective.
To be fair,
There were like 5 kids out of 90 that.
and a lot of that has to do with who's
Yes,
giving that
you could
assessment.
look at the results, yeah.
So when I put a student in a
This is
room
like
of
4 years
15 to
ago.
20 to do an assessment versus a room of 50 to 60, they're going to take a lot more serious because now you have someone who's connected to them, walking around that classroom saying, hey, Mike, I noticed you took a little too much time on me. You're better than that. So that personal connection is going to be a lot more important in my world with that SAT than a handbook saying they can be exempt or not. That's just my personal opinion, and the teachers share that sentiment.
What about the tobacco and the SRO giving? I thought he wasn't going to be doing like discipline and stuff like that.
That is not, that is per Chief Smith, the citation for tobacco or any kind of
Right.
illegal substance abuse is $100 by the Village of Beecher. And so we're going to cite them $100 because it's not, right now, the suspensions or the discipline we're doing right now isn't circumventing the students' continuing usage. So we're going to take the next step, and the police have been in support of that. So our SRO, who is a Beecher police officer, will be given a $100 citation, which is a standard village citation for that.
But that's the only discipline you would be handing out?
No.
Yep.
No? I mean, just for that, what would be the other
It
one?
is one of the things we have as an option for discipline. I will never say that is what, this equals that. I won't say that. But that is a tool that I have at my discretion now to support the village police.
Right, but I mean, that's the only discipline that he's doing. I thought when we added on that he wasn't.
Oh, the
gonna be
SRO?
involved in- Yes, that's what I meant,
Oh,
not
no,
you.
Mr. Ogden's still in charge of the high school discipline with the
That's the
assistants.
SRO,
Yeah, if
that's
there's
that
something
one.
that requires police involvement, our SRO will be involved with that, but Mr. Ogden is still my primary disciplinarian.
Okay.
So, but if I need the village input, that's where Mr. Beck will be involved.
Okay, has he started yet, or is she?
He got sworn in on,
Yep.
19?
yep. I got the picture today. It was Thursday, because I wasn't wearing a tie.
No, not done.
Okay, all right.
So.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Very good, thank you.
One last thing, obviously you guys know June 2nd is our graduation. Obviously I would love every one of you guys to come there and be part of that ceremony. My plan is to obviously have you guys assist in the handing out of diplomas. I will make sure that Ms. Goldrick and Ms. Weissel are in your groups to hand out. If you are busy that day or anything like that, please let Mr. Cox or myself know so we can politely take you off the list of people to pass out diplomas.
What time is that?
It starts at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
So, 1:55.
Yeah, I'm busy that day.
I'll let Maggie know.
You are busy, you're busy there. So I want to take a few minutes to kind of highlight one of the things I put in an update earlier, and that's on the importance of us being influential outside of our community as education leaders. I had spent some time recently with Representative Smith in Springfield, and the importance to be able to have conversations with other influential people is to make sure that the best decisions get made. And as leaders, that's something that we definitely need to make sure that we're spending time doing. There are, especially in Springfield, there are usually somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,000 pieces of legislation that get introduced, and about a third of them tend to have something to do with education. And if the representatives and senators who are trying to do good work, obviously the majority of them are not really experienced in the education world. So it's very important to make sure that those people have the ears of people who are in the field, can give them good feedback. There are lots of bills that we've had recently. I know we have a minimum wage law coming in. There's an initiative to increase the minimum teaching wage. And so there are dozens and dozens of these bills that if they get implemented in a vacuum, they have horrible repercussions. And so that advocacy piece for education, it not just safeguards what we're doing here, but it safeguards education in the state as a whole. So questions about that process or anything else from my reports?
There's a lot that came on your superintendent report I'd like to speak with you about.
Sure.
You know, if you want to do it in executive or whatever, but there's a few things that I think that have been brought out. There's been no discussion on it. I think that needs to be discussed.
Okay.
I mean, I've been trying to get stuff on the agenda too, but I haven't been successful. I was trying to get that golf discussed, and Mr. Herman didn't put it on the agenda. And I know that we need to have, according to 480, that was supposed to be, any new contracts would be approved by the board. That's 460.
So it's actually contracts and expenditures that are under $5,000, I believe. We spent a great deal of time on that in the late summer and early fall, setting those exactly what those limits are in place. I mean, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of contracts that this district has that the board would never have action on just because they're smaller contracts.
So we're never going to discuss the golf? Is that what you're saying? I can't get that on the agenda? Are you just
we
assigning
certainly
that
could-
contract or whatever? It clearly said 460 that we were gonna, that all contracts are to be discussed by the board.
It says all contracts that are under $5,000.
460?
Yep.
I just looked at that.
If you recall, we spent time talking about that, setting those thresholds in place.
I mean, I'll look that up, but, so you have in there that we're starting a marching band? What's the process for that?
So what I put was that what we're trying to get done is we're trying to get a presence in the 4th of July parade, which is something that Beecher hasn't had recently, which I think would probably be a really good thing. Don't know that if we can get that done, but we're trying.
Because we get all different bands from other different towns, or school districts, but no beacher.
Exactly.
I think it'd be a great idea if we can,
Right.
if we can go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Mr. Meyer?
Yes, sir. You also have my written report as well. I came to talk about some of the changes if you would like, but I'd also like to say something similar that Mr. Gaham said. We had one individual that made state track. We had a lot of personal bests, but it just wasn't good enough on Saturday. So we have one 7th grader that actually won the sectional by throwing 104 in discus. So we'll see how he does. He did well. Scratched the first 2 times, and then the third one, he world beater.
Can you say who that was?
I'm sorry?
Could you say, can you say?
Simon Michaels.
Oh, cool.
So he did well.
That's awesome.
What other, I'd like to thank all the people that had our building tours. I took some new ones around, but I also took some older individuals around as well, so
Larry?
I appreciate
can't
your
go that
interest
far.
in walking the buildings. I just want to make sure
Enjoyed
the
it.
older comment was mentioned. Mr. Missouri. So what some of your comments about with Mr. Gaham or Mrs. Black on some of the issues as well, and even Mr. Palmisano's comment about retention. Yes, our goal is to help them out as much as possible, but I think also the fact that I think if there are some teeth, that kids will try. I think touching on what Mrs. Weissel said as well, some kids don't care, and it is discouraging for the teaching staff or the high school staff. And I used to be at the high school seeing kids that truly, I believe their grades did not reflect their ability. They just knew that they weren't going to get held back. And I'm not saying holding kids back is the right thing, but if we do the best we can, we need them to try as well. And I think the fact that if kids know that, you know what, I need to pass 2 out of 4 of my core classes, they might try a little bit harder, or might seek help, or might use their study halls more, or a combination of all. Are we going to catch everybody? Absolutely not. And that's something that I'll have to look into with the help of our superintendent and Mr. Gaham as well, looking for some guidance on that, because it's something new. And I think if people know that you need to do your, I don't want to say do your job, but if you need to pass your classes and put forth some effort, I think this will be a good thing. And I think it's only going to help Mr. Gaham. I'm sorry?
They call your bluff, I know. They will, they don't see that they have to, and then it's hard for the motivation.
So we'll try. That's our goal. We're going to move forward with that again. And I think the biggest thing with our changes is just the consistency, making sure we're all consistent. If it's K-8 or if it's 6-12, a lot of the consistency pieces that kids will know what to expect when they walk in. And parents will know what to expect when they walk in, hopefully. And I'll know, staff will know, so.
It's just a little general here, and shall develop, the administration shall develop and maintain appropriate remedial programs to assist students determined not to qualify for promotion to the next grade level. Is there going to be summer school, or what are we?
Yes. So that will be part of our RTI program that Mr. Gaham and I are going to work on. That will also be what's called Edgenuity, if I remember correctly. So what this is, and we were going to have a webinar at 1 o'clock on Wednesday to learn more about this. But yes, so then let's say they fail English 3/4. So they will take a class in the summer, let's say Monday through Thursday, until they pass this class. So it could be 8 to 11, could be 8 to 12. We would work out the specifics, but you'd have to pass that class to get that credit back. Let's say, and these are questions, I don't have the answers,
Right,
but these
okay.
are questions that I would like to ask on Wednesday. Let's say the kid already fails first and second quarter. Can I start him out, besides already being in class, he's going to do this online class to gain first semester back. So if he can gain first semester back, then we're good for the rest of the year. He's passed that Edgenuity makeup class, even though he failed the first 2 quarters, but this class would take the place of those first 2 quarters that he failed, or she, sorry.
Okay.
Possibly, I don't know if they can do it during the year. They're gonna have so many seats. Like, I'm gonna try to get 5 seats, let's say, and Mr. Gaham may have 10 seats. We're just trying to figure out the logistics of everything. So if they can do it during school as well, during study hall, or whenever, again, those are questions besides the summer school piece, yes.
So a good point, I'm thinking, I haven't been digesting, it would start next year.
Correct.
And you'd have a whole year.
It's not for me this summer, because
It's
I did not.
nobody's-
Sorry.
okay. No,
I didn't mean to cut you off. I truly don't feel appropriate
Okay.
this summer because I didn't give kids or parents an opportunity to know that. But next year, they will know, and so then we will start, at the junior high level, we will start there. That's what I would like to
Okay.
pursue.
We're kind of beta testing that process in
Yes.
high school this summer. And so we do have, what, 8 or 10? 10
Yes, sir.
licensors. And so we will be able to give high school students that credit reclamation to keep them from falling further behind. So that process will start sooner rather than later.
And my clarifying question around that program was that my expectations that would not apply at the elementary school to Ms. Black.
So actually, there's a separate summer school.
Right, we have a summer school
Okay.
program that isn't, but our summer school program isn't necessarily based on, because you failed,
Great.
because you failed a
Yeah.
class. And I don't know, I feel like I want to knock on wood or something. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't think, I mean, I'm not going to say we don't have students who get Fs, but I don't, it's not as pervasive of an issue at the elementary school. We deal with that a lot more with our RTI programs and things like that, getting the kids where they need to be. And I think at the elementary school, having the kids in the same classrooms longer provides us that opportunity a little bit differently than it does at the junior high and high school.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
And one of the questions you asked earlier was about fines and field trips.
Oh.
We're not looking to penalize kids at the beginning of the year about field trips and all that stuff, but I think by the time April and May comes around and you owe a couple $100s for lunch, or you owe still your registration fees, maybe we need to look at that. Now, would we stop you from the promotion ceremony? No, but maybe the dance, that's already been in the handbook, that's been approved before. But the end of the year field, some of those things that those are promotion activities, we would look at those things if we could, and again, the problem is, I feel bad about the kid, it's not usually the kid's fault, but somewhere down the line, I have a hard time when kids come through and then we can't, and the past few years have been great, but now they have a $300 bill that Mr. Gaham now has to clean up for me, and that just doesn't sit right with me. We'd like to clean everybody's bill up because we're supposed to be responsible adults and everybody else. So that's what I'm looking at. Again, I probably wouldn't do it first and second quarter. They can go to the dances, they can do that stuff. But when it comes to the end of the year, we'd like you to pay your bill. You've had 12 months, you know what you owe. But that's what I'm looking at.
And, go back to what you said, because, it's a touchy situation.
Yeah.
We passed out envelopes before.
Yep.
And to kids, that's pretty bad. But we punishing the kid, I still don't understand, for the failure of the parent that can't pay, I mean, the child shouldn't be penalized. That's just me, I'm just gonna put that back out there again. Some people can't.
So you're missing one of the track coaches? You only did somebody resign or something, or we only have one track coach? We have one assistant track coach and we had two? Mrs. Swanson.
Yes. Oh,
Did we just?
no, that's high school, Dayton's high school. The track coaches are Granisey and, he was volunteer. I don't know how that all worked out. Adam and Anthony.
Supposed to be on there.
I know that they were there most of the time, but we kind of almost had four. We had
Right.
Granisey.
It just isn't on there for next year's or something.
No, I don't know about the volunteer part, if they're going to volunteer again. They may be in school, and they may be.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to get an updated list every year.
Okay.
So we're only looking at putting in place the coaches and volunteers for next year that we know. And so at this point in time, we probably will have a few holes looking at next year's roster.
Can I say there was a hole in the drama club too, or that wasn't there? That wasn't listed.
Correct.
We'll work on that. We won't lose the, I've got an idea for a track, hopefully. Do what we can.
Okay. Those kids did so well. I mean, they just didn't have a whole lot of meets. You really have to be proud of those. They didn't have a whole lot of meets. They didn't have a track, and those girls, and those coaches were just wonderful. I mean, they were just so dedicated, you know. Jillian Rowe, Nathan Swanson, and Joe Baccia, who was the volunteer for 11 years or whatever. Just really, I'm so proud of them. They just really overcame just really some difficult
And,
odds.
and then
And then
Mrs.
you got
Granisey and
two,
Mr.
yeah,
Austin.
it was just
those
wonderful.
four, yeah,
Just really wonderful.
I would agree. A lot of kids go out.
Thank you.
What else? Thank you.
Moving on to old business, school bus purchase. There's, oops.
Been talking about it for months,
Go ahead.
and
Yeah.
met with the transportation director and our head mechanic. And this is their recommendation on what we need to do and where we need to get going.
More than one company, one bid?
We looked at not only Central State Ace, but also Midwest.
Those were not sent out to look at or anything. I mean, we don't know what the price was. You know, there's two, you know, we're talking $83,000 per bus.
They're also different manufacturers. So it's when you look at the Bluebird buses, there's only one vendor to buy a new Bluebird bus from. And so when we looked at Midwest, now you're talking about a different kind of bus.
These are gas.
Okay, and we have discussed this. This is for a purchase of two buses, a 71-passenger conventional Bluebird school bus at the cost of $82,974, and the purchase of one 24-passenger with a lift Bluebird mini school bus at the cost of $67,848, for a total of $233,796. Any other questions? I need a motion to approve the purchase.
It's a lot of money, but we need them, and we gotta keep moving forward with them.
So move.
Second. Your second. Okay, your second.
Okay, I have Ron and
Ron,
Liz.
yeah.
Okay, Goldrick,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Masurek,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
motion carried.
And moving on to the food service job descriptions.
So it had some conversation to probably be a little bit more detailed with respect to exactly what the requirements are for each of those. As you move up in what that commitment is, what that expertise is from cook to head cook to director, to probably actually codify that we're looking for some more experiences, some more coursework, knowledge, possibly some licensures. So as we move through that, one thought is that for the head cook position, that we could put that we would be preferring that somebody has so many years, 5 years of experience in the food service industry, or additional knowledge and coursework in nutrition. And then in the director's position, we could put that our preference is both, that they have experience in the food service industry and additional background in nutrition.
Is there any way to move up from one position to the other? I didn't see it in there. I'm finished.
So there is not anything that's delineated. It would be really based more on when there's an opening. Because I think what we're looking at is we're having a total of one director position, 3 head cook positions, and then 3 cook positions. And so it would be not possible to move from head cook to director if we already got a director.
How many hours per week would they work?
So I think there's a little flexibility in the job descriptions with respect to those, because, once again, this is something that we haven't done ourselves in a decade. And so, the director's position is really a full-time position for just 40 hours a week. But then I think that there's probably some flexibility. Without looking at those, I think the head cook was 4 to 5 hours a day, and the cook was 2 to 4, or 3 to 4, something like that.
Okay, that sounds like a job description.
Yeah, it's actually in the job description.
Okay, I see it at the front.
And then I know at past meetings, we had talked about, what's the cost affiliated with this? And so we have those minimums set in there as well as a starting point for those conversations.
I really think there needs to be a stronger wording in that food services director. I really think we need to look for someone that has a food service accreditation, as far as like a certified dietary director or something like that. Those folks go to school for a year to get that accreditation, and now we're just going to slide someone else up in there. And if we're really trying to make a top-notch program, why not call for the accreditation right away? Set the standard high.
Yeah, I agree that setting a standard high is raising the bar is always a good thing. The one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to eliminate people because they, it's not, they might have, we would have to, even though it would be a requirement, we'd still want to be vague or at least general about how we word that, because I don't know that we're looking for, this one certification or skill set. It might be something that's along the same lines.
Or is there training they can do to achieve that as they work through it?
Would think so.
Yeah, okay.
I have to agree with Mr. Hernandez. I mean, you have to have something there, like, to be a teacher, to work at the elementary or anything, you gotta have a bachelor's degree, you gotta be a teacher. I mean, he's got a good point, there should be.
Yeah, you talk about someone coming and running that department.
Yes.
I've got all the credentials to be that guy, but I'm qualified to run that department,
Yeah, I agree with you.
So then what would you like to see? Is that certified dietary?
There's certified dietary managers in that field. Nursing homes have them, hospitals have them, schools have them. To be the director, you have to be a certified dietary manager.
Are you all right with saying or similar certification?
Equivalent.
That way,
Yeah, sure.
or equivalent certification.
Absolutely, because the food handler's license, all they teach you is like cross-contamination, da-da-da-da-da, right?
Well, and they need to know
A
stuff about
direct-
allergies
yeah.
and stuff too.
A director of dietary manager, they got to go a whole level above that,
Would they be apt to making the hourly wage provided? Or is that something that would be a higher pay grade?
I think it depends on location.
Okay.
I think that's entry level salary for that type of position. You go into Chicago, you probably make more money than that, but
Of course.
Chicago, but I just think you need that. I mean, you're talking about preparing meals that's going to affect all the kids. People don't think about it, but something is done wrong. Now you got 500 kids that are sick.
In other district models of this, do you see that they have anything like in that job description for a food director?
I'm going to be honest with you, we didn't create this in the first place. So yeah, I mean, we stole this directly from
Okay,
somebody
so that's
who's
what
been
they've
running their
used
kitchen
to
for-
use.
We borrowed it.
Okay,
Right.
yeah, that's what we do.
Right.
Made the best.
And so, so then what I'm hearing is then for the head cook, put that food service experience is preferred, and then for the director, not only preferred food service experience, but then also a requirement of having a certified dietary manager or equivalent certification.
Right, we go with that. Plus, then that gives you a differentiation in pay, right? I'm going to get this much because I did this much work to earn that much. Right now, the way it's set out is all the qualifications are the same, but the pay is different.
I've also seen it presented maybe in a different way. You could say minimum qualifications with the items that you have listed, and then preferred qualifications with the additional items that we've noted.
Would you like to make that as a motion? Either
What do
way.
you think about that, Mr. Hernandez?
I like the way you said it.
Can I get that right? So what I said was that for the head cook, it's preferred that they have food service experience. For the director, it's also preferred that they have food service experience. But for the director, it's also a requirement that they have that they're a certified dietary manager or a equivalent certification.
And experience?
That experience is preferred. The experience is still preferred in that. Do we want to have that as a requirement coming in?
Yes.
Or do we want them the ability to attain that over the first year?
I would rather them come in like that, so we hit the ground running. I wouldn't want to spend time trying to train someone to do that. Theoretically, they should have the training when they come in, so just a little guiding.
Would they have to do GCN training as well anyways, or no? Do support staff do that too? GCN training and stuff, all of that? Would the head cooks and them also go through that?
GCN training.
That might just be to my district then, like
No,
the
we do.
bloodborne pathogens, things like that.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
the ones that apply.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we good with that?
Yeah.
The wording?
Yep.
It's your motion, Juan?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Messer?
Okay, Herman,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Mazer,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Goldrick.
Yes.
Motion carried.
So I don't see that part, and I looked, while they were talking about that, I looked at that 460. It just says all contracts shall be approved or authorized by the board. So if you guys want to change that, you could bring that to the board, but I mean, there's a lot of contracts that you guys are doing that are not authorized by the board? I know we did some things before that didn't go very well, or people were concerned about. I can think of one, but,
I'll tell you, I will, well, so to answer your question, again, take officials' contracts. How many hundreds of officials' contracts do we do as an organization to individual people every year? Those are binding contracts. Same way with paying, with agreeing to go to tournaments and contracts for field trip dates, and the list is endless. And those don't ever come before the board because they don't reach a threshold. So if you would like for me, I can provide that verbiage out of that policy. I can get you a copy of that exactly.
so are we ever going to talk about the golf policy then?
As far as what do you wish to discuss? You're saying golf policy.
Well, we have this whole proposal in there, and people came, or a person came and complained, and I don't know if everybody always, that was one of the things, is people come here and then we don't ever know, and if anybody ever follows up, or we don't hear back. There was a man that came and complained about trees, and so I don't really know, and somebody suggested to me, maybe that should be the role of the secretary, to kind of keep a list of the policy, of what happens at the board, and that there's some sort of follow-up or something, or, because that is coming to the board at this point. These are items that are coming to the board, and we're not always followed up on what happens. So, that was, somebody suggested that to me, that would be one of the roles of the board secretary. We don't have a whole lot of roles for the board secretary. She doesn't take the minutes, she doesn't, she signs papers, but there isn't a lot of roles for that. She was nominated, and I don't know. It was a thought that somebody brought to me when there was concern that there's not a lot of follow-up, that we don't know if there's follow-up.
Are you asking for the feedback?
Yeah.
Once completed?
Do you think that that's outside of the job description or the scope of the description today? That that's not included?
I just wanted
The follow-up and feedback?
If we're getting information from the public, then nobody ever, I don't know if anybody ever gets back to anybody.
I think what Carla's saying is because Mr. McCartney had before, in the prior, would give back feedback, like if somebody, Larry or Paul or whoever was the president at the time, they'd have a question with that, they would like the building principal would speak with somebody in the audience, let's just say. Then it was brought back and it was just kind of, the board was briefed. I think that's what she's saying. Am I correct or incorrect?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a suggestion we'll take in our notes for another discussion or?
That can even come out in the superintendent's report because he gets the feedback from his principals.
Can certainly do that. Can certainly facilitate that.
Because items will be
Yeah.
across the board, whether it's us.
Everybody
or
would
the
have
school.
be on the same page.
Yep.
Okay. And that's the way to handle that then.
Okay, moving to the high school digital sign proposal as presented.
Can I just, a little wordy.
Read it sideways.
When we took in this digital sign, have we thought about the people on Miller Street when this sign is flashing? Because we don't really need it during the day. I mean, but it's going to be at night. And I know they turn off the one at Waltz for the houses there on Dixie. I mean, have we taken any consideration of maybe the residents that this thing's going to be bright? And then, let's go back, when we take $19,000 for a digital sign, when we have a parking lot that there's ducks in them, So, I mean, we're taking $19,000 on a digital sign, but we have bigger projects such as the parking lot with like 2-bedroom apartments. Sorry.
No, I think you're exactly right. I think that that we have several drives around campus that need to be completely cut up and redone. When you do a project of that size, because if we're talking about completely redoing 2 or 3 drives, you're talking about a project with 6 figures in it, and that's not a project that I want to try to get numbers on in May. The way that you bid a large project is just like we did with the last roof project. You do the bidding in January and February when people don't have a full workload on their calendar, and you get better pricing. And so I don't think, trust me, nobody wants to have that stuff fixed more than I do. But at the same point in time, I think that there's a fiscal responsibility piece to it. And so to limp through on cold patch for another 12 months is not appealing. But I think that in those areas, it's the right thing to do.
Right, but as a $19,000 digital sign, how accessible is it to, it's not on Dixie Highway. I mean, it's going to be on the front of the school, am I correct?
No, so we're looking at having it either out on Miller, or the conversation is still about trying to get it out on Route 1.
Out on Route 1.
So we don't have 100% location of where this is going to be. You're exactly right. We do need to get it to be as visible as possible.
Okay, and just to go back and just to answer the question, we're not sharing this with another government body, are we?
Not what?
Sharing this with another government body?
I don't think I understand the question.
We're not going.
This isn't being cost shared, this is
No.
strictly.
Beechers stuff, school will be on,
That is
high
correct.
school.
That is correct.
There would be a lot of exposure too on the other side, not Miller Street, but the other side too, since you have people going to the elementary school and then coming around this way, just to throw it out there.
Right, so we're not 100% sure on
Yeah.
exactly the location. But as we continue to talk about trying to make the front of the high school more functional and attractive, has been a part of the process. But it's also something that we can't just spur of the moment get done, because as we look at our summer projects and we look at those that are going to go over that $5,000 threshold, those aren't things that we can act quickly on. And they're also things that we want to be more diligent about gaining multiple bids on. And so we know that they're going to need to be more approved, so there's a little greater lead time, and so that's why we're having these conversations.
Are there issues with that, with the junior high? It seems like a former board members seem to think that that sign at the junior high was breaking down a lot. Have we tried to look at the reliability on the one that you're proposing? It does, okay. Or maybe you can't get parts.
No, shh, don't say that, because it's really been good.
Oh,
It has.
okay.
This year's been, this is the best year it has since I've been here. But to say that, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Gaham, but I'm going to. I just know that if this works out and something doesn't work out on our end, we may have somebody. The problem with our sign is there's no one around here to fix it. There's like one person in Florida, and he doesn't answer his phone. So, or maybe he's in North Carolina. I mean, we don't know where he is. So it's been really good. But at least we would have somebody be able to fix it if we, because he gave us a card. He came over and talked to us as well after he talked to Mr. Gaham. So
Oh, he might be able to fix your sign?
I don't know if he'd be able to fix it, but if we ever go down that path, he would be interested in having both signs for both buildings.
What about the sign at the elementary? No, I'm joking.
She's going to have a big picture.
No, she is not. She is not.
I was just trying to get you a sign.
So sorry.
To be my face.
Okay, back to, any other questions?
It talked about that, we're just up for proposal today, is the approval of the costs included versus there's still electric that would have to be run, whether it's from the building, whether it's located on Route 1, and then we would still have to address all the permitting with the village, is that correct?
There's still, right, there would be connectivity costs, correct?
Okay, so we're still not at the end of the road with there is a sign and where is the sign?
Right, but the actual sign itself is by far the largest expenditure.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we have a ballpark of where those other ones will come in at?
They'll be under $5,000, I guarantee you that.
So,
Okay. I need a motion.
To move forward with the sign?
To move forward with the sign.
I'm only good with the sign if it's on Route 1. If it's on
Thank
Miller
you.
Street, I'm not good with it.
and I'm hesitant with not knowing the full cost and decision on location.
Is there any, is this,
So could we motion with the contingency or no?
or we can table it?
We can table it and come back and.
I'd say table it because we don't know the final expense, what's it gonna cost, where we're gonna get the, the land on Route 1. I mean, until we know the figures, I mean, that's proven something that.
Okay, so we can table it now, but approve him to go forward with
For location and final cost.
investigating it.
Yeah.
Okay. Where am I? ATI physical therapy contract, or no, I'm skipping something here.
Parking lots.
Parking lots, there we go.
Yes.
Resealing and striping proposal as presented. Oops, I don't have that.
Is this for all three high schools? Because
And the high
the three
schools,
schools,
too.
it doesn't specify.
Got it? This one? Oh, okay. There we go. That's it, paper two. Okay.
This one's cheaper than South Suburban.
Looks like
Okay.
it's just for junior high, but. So much. Oh, wait, this is the end of it. Okay.
These are the ones that I emailed you this morning. It's to have the junior high lot. There's about, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, it's about
Is it just
1,500
junior
linear
high?
feet of caulking, support caulking with the resealing. and then repainting. So that's at the junior high, and then also the high school student parking lot.
Student parking lot.
Correct.
And we're just doing cold patches on the high school drive for now?
That's correct.
And you said you're gonna put bids out, hopefully come November when everybody's slow, we'll get. Okay.
Good deal.
When are they gonna start doing the cold patching on the high school drive?
I think some has been done last week, and I think that more is.
It's when it stops raining, so we can get it dried out and put something down so we won't stick to it.
Hopefully by graduation?
Correct. Yes.
Hate to twist my ankle.
We're holding you to that.
If you can get it to stop raining, Ron, you can only do it.
Stop raining.
So I was okay with those other ones. One was resealing the parking lots, somebody was asking, the junior high and the high school student lot. And what was the other one? That was one of them. Oh, here they are.
So what you sent this morning was for both of those lots? I'm just trying to find it where it says that in the proposal.
So they're in the, what's the manufacturer there? What's the-
Pavement Systems Incorporated?
Yeah. I believe each is like a 4-page proposal.
Okay.
On the first page on each one says junior high, the other one says high school student lot.
Okay. Oh, I just.
Suburban?
Oh, I got it.
Pavement systems.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yep, and I apologize
I
for
see
the
it.
confusion of,
Okay.
but the second one's $5,000 less. So.
Okay, I have it. So
It's a good
one's the
mistake.
student lot north of the tennis courts, and that's for $4,175.
35.
$4,135. And then the other one is for $8,563, and that is for,
Junior high.
Are they at the junior high?
It's a junior high.
Feature junior high.
All right. I don't think that's been done since we got it, right?
I'll make a
Did you say
motion that
at the
we-
facilities
Okay.
meeting? Or did you-
Finish these
Yeah.
projects.
Both projects.
Correct.
Okay, motion's been made. Do I have a second?
Second. Go for it.
Any further questions? Good.
Okay, Lucius,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Goldberg,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
motion carried.
And the high school gym floor refinishing.
So last time this was discussed, which I think was in 17, the base bid was $34,000. Now we're looking at 2 years later and $8,000 less, $7,500 less. So it's a good deal. It's a project that's long overdue. So appreciate your support.
And if you look at the Dan gym, you'll see it looks really good, so I would, so moved.
Second.
Okay, Hernandez,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Pappas.
Yes.
Goldberg.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Weissel.
Yes.
Lucius.
Yes.
Motion carried.
At this time, I believe we're...
Junior high soccer.
Where? Oh, junior high soccer.
So I know that this has been an ongoing conversation for a while now. Wanted to put it on the agenda to have the board give the board the opportunity to continue their discussion with exactly where we are and what the thoughts are.
I think people really want this, and if that's part of that, putting a track over there and putting the soccer in the middle, I'm for it. I think that the students were at a real disadvantage this year with the track. But they didn't have enough. They didn't have enough meets. I think it was just because they didn't have a track, but I'm for the whole thing. I support track, and the soccer could go right in the middle. So I'm for it. If we can't get that done right away, if we could bus the kids over, so I don't know, can we move them over to the junior high? And can they practice over there twice a week or something? People really want this, and then we had like 60 students on the soccer field, I mean, on track, because it looks like there was no other sport for them to do at that time. Was it, am I right? There was nothing else for them to do in the spring, right?
There's track. Yeah, that's
That was it, right?
Correct.
There's just not a whole, I mean,
So-
track's great.
And I just to kind of piggyback off of that, I understand the need to, do this the right way and make sure that we have a practice field and everything so that none of the sports for soccer suffer, and I agree with that. Is there any way that we could do, like, if we did it the first year and we didn't have a track done and all of that, is there any way we could do it in small stages where we had no home games that year, but we were still, a team? And then the next year is when we could start hosting, but at least we've established the sport?
So, a lot of things are possible. A lot of the logistical issues come from the fact that we currently already have 2 soccer teams on a field that's
Not great.
Awful, terrible.
Okay,
some
terrible.
of those words. And so to add a 3rd team into that mix, I know that there is, there's the process or the possibility of having some practice, having a practice facility behind the junior high. There's some space there.
Although, when we walked in it with our own shoes, we saw that it was uneven, and that worries me for them getting hurt and turning ankles, because the grass is not, the actual ground is not safe. It would have to be taken care of that way. Is Zion an option to practice there? I don't know when their soccer season is.
Lions Park has a ton of goals and it's lined.
So that was just my thing that I thought maybe could be a discussion if there's any way, like, in the process, if we could establish some form of, even if it was a club and then we competed with other schools, just not at home.
We have a swim team and no pool.
Is there any way to work on intergovernmental agreement with any of those schools right now until we get our fields up that we haven't looked, Mr. Ogden hasn't looked at? I mean, soccer, I'm not a soccer fan, but I'm for it. Is there any, that we have any other high schools that have a soccer team that may, while they're not playing at home, we can use their field?
We can, if this is something that the board would like to have the administration look at a spring 20 implementation, then we can move along those lines and see what other places there are that we could. So logistically, again, one of the difficult spots about being other places after school is
Transportation there.
all of our buses are moving kids home from school, and so now a lot of the practice times then don't start until later. But anything's, not anything, most things are possible.
Just if different logistics would work. I fully support, doing the full plan that you say, but I was just wondering if there's any way we could do it in some capacity.
We can certainly look
I agree.
into it.
I would support that.
I agree.
I believe it was rated on number 1 in our poll, right, Mr. Meyer? Yeah.
That's my understanding.
Second to nap time.
Second.
No, that was.
Excellent.
And that'd be looking towards 2020 instead of 2021?
That's the feedback I'm getting.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yep, we'll continue that conversation.
Okay, are we going to go into executive before any of these other motions? Were we going to discuss some of these?
So, we need, if you're gonna move executive session down, you'd also need to move 13A down.
Okay.
So then you could do B through G now, if you wanted.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Sure. Okay, we're going to move down to 13B. Purchasing cooperative resolution and intergovernmental agreement. And is that in here?
Seems standard.
Should be in your package.
Seems standard.
Standard. I need a motion to approve.
I have another question.
Go ahead.
How does this impact potentially the job descriptions that we talked about earlier?
Really doesn't.
Okay.
Really doesn't. What it does is that in as many areas as possible, what we try to do is we try to enter into cooperative purchasing agreements. That way we have greater buying power, and this would certainly allow us to do that.
For instance, insurance and gas, oil, all that
Right.
stuff. I need a motion.
I'll motion.
Second?
A second.
Okay, Pappas,
Yes.
Goldberg,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Weitzel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Approval of the first reading of sections 7 and 8 of the board policy as presented.
So the administration didn't bring any changes to that, but in 790, I've been concerned about this ever since when they did that walkout last year. So in 790, it says, release during school hours. For safety and security reasons, a prior written or oral consent of a student's custodial parent guardian is required before a student is released during school hours. 1, at any time before the regular dismissal time or at any time before school is otherwise officially closed, and or 2, to any person other than a custodial parent or guardian. I was wondering if that walkout would have been under this time, because I know some parents were not happy that their students were leaving the...
It actually wouldn't apply because that section references when students leave grounds. And so really, when you're talking about a walkout, you're not. And so I think that, if the student's walkout was, to go to the bowling alley in the middle of the day,
Okay.
then I think that would apply, and then I think there would be issues. But when our students, if they're gonna go stand in the front walk for 17 minutes or whatever the last major one was, then that would not apply.
So where I was at, they just had one, and I was out of the building, I couldn't get back in. And they were protesting all along the street, and it was going all over the place. So at that point, would that apply then?
I think our current, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe our current handbook would have provisions that would cover that.
I would guess yes, but if you're asking me to recollect the entire handbook at this moment, I can't.
It's like a firm
Honestly, I
actor.
think they're up, it's up for discipline.
Right, because then at that point in time, once student, right, anytime a student leaves class, anytime a student goes off grounds, then it falls under the disciplinary code, and then our administrators have the latitude to be able to handle that at their discretion.
I would hope that there's not that extreme of a walkout anytime soon here. I don't think it would be.
If you're talking about the HR walkout, none of our students left campus.
What?
People, if I want the HR walkout this week, none of our students left campus. The adults were all the ones along CVS and down the street. Our students were all contained on campus by Cook
They
County
had to
Sheriff.
stay on.
Typically, the
They had to
expectations
stay
are
on our
communicated to the
campus.
students.
So they were on
as well.
school property then, right?
Yes,
Adriana?
exactly, they were all.
So they weren't
on
off school property.
Everybody
There's-
who saw
there's your
across the
difference.
street was Rainbow Push,
There's your difference.
who did the walkout actually, not our students.
Okay, back to section 7 and 8.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions?
And again, this is a first reading, so, if something strikes you between, now and the next, month, shoot me an email and we'll work through it.
So I need an approval for the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Goldberg,
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Weitzel,
yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
Pappas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Need approval of the ATI therapy contract for the 1920 school year, fiscal year, at a cost of $19,500 as presented.
How much did that go up, anybody know by hand?
It's either 500 or 1,000, but either way, it's a bargain.
We've had nothing but good luck with them.
Let's make a motion, we approve the contract.
Second.
Okay, Herman?
Yes?
Weissel?
Yes.
Duchess?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Goldberg?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, we need some discussions. Ron indicated that he would like to see the board meetings moved to a different day so they don't conflict with the village.
Well, village, you know, yeah.
Did we? IHS where? Oh, okay, it's over on here, okay. All right, we'll come back to that.
Okay, thank you, for sure.
Any discussion on moving the current date?
Mondays work pretty well for me. Tuesdays,
Me too, Monday's good.
Mondays.
I could see
Can-
the village board,
Can we move it to a different Monday? Would that help?
Are the
Wow,
village
okay.
boards on the second Monday as well?
Yeah, second and, no, first and, second and fourth, second and fourth. Yeah.
But they always have them on the second,
Yeah.
so.
Third Monday?
Third Monday?
Wednesday.
Thursdays.
I'm just thinking that when we all ran for this position, we knew what days that the meetings were, and we knew that they were always this Monday, and we still ran, and here we are. Now it's kind of difficult to change things up.
Well, the reason I brought it up is because you've had some village trustees, and I'm saying we all have the same meetings, we, you know, if something's going on at the village, you know, we're obligated to be here. We can't be over there in case we have a question. So that's where it goes, you know, I'm okay with Mondays, I'm not making it a big deal, but if we could.
But if they were changing their meetings,
Well, that's a good point, Paul. We can ask them.
Well, it's like the TIF thing, we would miss that because
Right.
of that. That was one thing I did think about.
Because they're stubborn with votes, that's why.
hey, so am I.
Makes,
No, that would make me the same thing.
Let's talk to the village, maybe they'd be interested in changing their meetings.
There you go.
So do we want to adopt the schedule that's presented? Do we want to?
do we want to?
You guys want to just continue with our next board meeting, then see what they want to do? Talk to them, see?
Well, then we don't have much time either, because the schedule starts in July.
Right.
I'll move it to next year and try and
We could adopt the
Try next year.
first semesters
it's up to Lynn.
dates
What if we try for next year? Well,
Third quarter?
and then
Or
see,
summer.
and then see if the second semester, if we can't work with the village to have some sort of a,
But for now, can we move forward with the dates that we have in front of us?
And then amend them?
First semester,
Later.
you said, right?
I move to propose we adopt for first semester through 2019.
That would be
And
good.
continue working or explore other dates
Okay.
with our team and then work with the village if possible there.
Can you let us know what those dates are that you're going to approve, that, so you can tell the public?
The second Monday, this current,
Just
this,
keep it as is.
Yeah.
as is.
There's a couple changes from Columbus Day.
Well, the usual.
Larry, you're just going to change to it again next year? Just try it again next year? or
In
something?
October, yeah.
I'm confused. Are we just going to go until the end of the year? or what?
Just to the end of the year. Yeah. Do I have a second to go for the first semester as we currently are?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay, Duchess?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Goldberg?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Weissel?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, and I missed IHSA membership for fiscal year 2019-20.
So move.
Second.
Okay, Weissel?
Yes.
Duchess?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Goldberg?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. I need a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel.
So moved.
Second.
Do we skip appointment of board committees, though?
We'll come back to that.
Oh, okay.
Did we get a second?
Moving on.
You were on.
All on, then.
All in on.
Okay, Missouri?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Goldberg?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Weissel?
Yes.
Duchess?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you all. We're moving into executive session. We will be coming out later if you care to wait in the hall.
Can you move that to executive session? If you're not talking about a specific person, that's talking about the creation of a position.
Thank you.
And that goes to executive, because that's the public.
Just thinking, okay.
It's good. We're coming back out to the public.
I don't know about the
And that would have to be.
That's open.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Taking a class in the summer.